Continuing the no, we'll find a place. Okay. In the middle.
Okay. Time. So, from the Krishna book, and we're continuing from Krishna erects a Dwarka fort. I think that is that 47. Oh, sorry, it's 49. 49. Okay. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Hey. Krishna, 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 Raksha Ma. Krishna, 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 Pahima. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshama. Krishna Kesava, Krishna Kesava, Krishna Kesava, Pahima. So it's page 13, 413. Okay. Krishna, the Supreme Son, was covered by the military strength of Jarasandha. Krishna and Balaram's chariots were marked with pictures of Garuda and palm trees. The women of Mathura all stood up on the tops of the houses, palaces and gates to see the wonderful fight. But when Krishna's chariot was surrounded by Jarasandha's military force and was no longer visible to them, they were so frightened that some of them fainted. Krishna saw himself overwhelmed by the military strength of Jarasandha. his small army of soldiers being harassed. So he immediately took up his bow named Sharinga. He took his arrows from their quiver, and one after another he set them on the bowstring and shot them toward the enemy. They were so accurate that the elephants, horses, and infantry soldiers of Jarasandha were quickly killed. The incessant arrows thrown by Krishna appeared like a whirlwind of blazing fire, killing all the military strength of Jarasandha. As Krishna released his arrows, all the elephants gradually began to fall, their heads severed by the arrows. Similarly, all the horses fell, their legs severed, and the chariots also fell, along with their flags and fighters and drivers on the chariots. Almost all of the infantry soldiers fell on the field of battle, their heads, hands, and legs cut off. In this way, many thousands of elephants and horses were killed, and their blood flowed just like the waves of a river. In that river, the severed arms of men appeared like snakes, and their heads like tortoises. The dead bodies of the elephants appeared like small islands, and the dead horses appeared like sharks. By the arrangement of the supreme will, there was a great river of blood There was a great river of blood filled with paraphernalia. The hands and legs of the infantry soldiers floated just like different kinds of fish. The hair of the soldiers floated like seaweed and moss, and the floating bows of the soldiers resembled waves of the river. And all the jewellery from the bodies of the soldiers and commanders seemed like many pebbles flowing down the river of blood. Lord Balaram, who is also known as Sangashan, began to fight with his club in such a heroic way that the river of blood created by Krishna overflowed. Cowards became very much afraid upon seeing the ghastly and horrible scene, and heroes began to talk delightedly among themselves about the heroism of the two brothers. Although Jarasandha was equipped with vast oceans of military strength, the fighting of Lord Krishna and Balaram covered the whole situation, converted the whole situation into a ghastly scene.
Ghastly scene far beyond ordinary fighting. Persons of ordinary merit cannot estimate how it could be possible, but when such activities are accepted as pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose will everything is possible, then this can be understood. The Supreme Personality of Godhead creates, maintains, and dissolves the cosmic manifestation merely by His will. For Him, to create such a vast scene of devastation while fighting with an enemy is not so wonderful. And yet, because Krishna and Balaram were fighting with Jarasandha just like ordinary human beings, the affair appeared wonderful. When all the soldiers of Jarasandha were killed and he was the only one left alive, certainly he was very depressed. Sri Balaram immediately arrested him, just as, with great strength, one lion captures another. But while Lord Balaram was binding Jarasandha with the rope of Varuna and ordinary ropes also, Lord Krishna, with a greater plan in mind for the future, asked Lord Balaram not to arrest him. Krishna then released Jarasandha. As a great fighting hero, Jarasandha was ashamed, and he decided that he would no longer live as a king, but would resign from his position in the royal order and go to the forest to practice meditation under severe austerities and penances. As he was returning home with other royal friends, however, they advised him not to retire, but to regain strength to fight again with Krishna in the near future. The princely friends of Jarasandha instructed him that ordinarily it would not have been possible for him to be defeated by the strength of the Yadu kings. The defeat he had experienced was simply due to his ill luck.
Yes, go on.
The princely order encouraged King Jarasandha. His fighting, they said, was certainly heroic. Therefore, he should not take his defeat very seriously, since it was due only to his past mistakes. After all, there was no fault in his fighting. In this way, Jarasandha, the king of Magadha province, having lost all his strength and having been insulted by arrest and subsequent release, could do nothing but return to his kingdom. Thus Lord Krishna conquered the soldiers of Jarasandha. Although Krishna's army was tiny in comparison to Jarasandha's, not a pinch of his strength was lost, whereas all of Jarasandha's men were killed. The 10 instances of heaven were very pleased, and they offered
their respects by chanting in glorification of the Lord and showering him with flowers, accepting the victory with great appreciation. Jarasandha returned to his kingdom, and Mathura city was saved from the danger of an imminent attack. The citizens of Mathura organized and combined services of professional singers like sutas and Magadhas, and poets who could compose nice songs, and they began to chant the victory glorification of Lord Krishna. When Lord Krishna entered the city after the victory, many bugles, conches, kettle drums sounded, and the vibrations of various musical instruments like the beri, the torya, veena, flute and madanga all joined together to make a beautiful reception. While Krishna was entering, the whole city was cleansed. All the different streets and roads were sprinkled with water, and the inhabitants, being joyous, decorated their respective houses, roads and shops with flags and festoons. The Brahmanas chanted Vedic mantras at numerous places. The people constructed road crossings, entrances, lanes and streets. When Lord Krishna was entering the nicely decorated city of Mathura in a festive attitude, the ladies and girls of Mathura prepared different kinds of flower garlands to make the ceremony more auspicious. In accordance with the Vedic custom, they took yogurt mixed with fresh green grass and began to strew it here and there to make the victory jubilation even more auspicious. As Krishna passed through the street, all the ladies and women regarded him with eyes bright with great affection. Krishna and Balaram carried various kinds of ornaments, jewels and other booty, carefully collected from the battlefield and presented it to King Ugrasena. Krishna thus offered his respect to his grandfather, because Ugrasena was at that time the crowned king of the Yadu dynasty. Jarasandha, the king of Magadha, besieged the city of Mathura not only once but 17 times, in the same way equipped with the same number of military phalanxes. Each and every time he was defeated and all his soldiers were killed by Krishna, and each time he had to return disappointed. Each time the princely order of the Yadu dynasty arrested Jarasandha in the same way and again released him in an insulting manner, and each time Jarasandha shamelessly returned home. While Jarasandha was attempting his 18th attack, the Yavana kings somewhere to the south of Mathura became attracted by the opulence of the Yadu dynasty and also attacked the city. It
is said that the king of Yavanas, known as Kalayavana, was indeed induced to attack by Narada. This story is narrated in the Vishnu Purana. Once, Gargamuni, the priest of the Yadu dynasty, was taunted by his brother-in-law. When the kings of the Yadu dynasty heard the taunt, they laughed at him, and Gargamuni became angry at the Yadu kings. He decided that he would produce someone who would be very fearful to the Yadu dynasty. So he pleased Lord Shiva and received from him the benediction of a son. He begot this son, Kalayavana, in the wife of a Yavana king. This Kalayavana inquired from Narada, "Who are the most powerful kings in the world?" Narada informed him that the Yadus were the most powerful. Thus informed, Kalayavana attacked the city of Mathura at the same time that Jarasandha tried to attack it for the 18th time. Kalayavana was very anxious to declare war on a king of the world who would be a suitable combatant for him, but he had not found any. However, being informed about Mathura by Narada, he thought it wise to attack the city with 30 million Yavana soldiers. When Mathura was being besieged, Lord Sri Krishna began to consider, in consultation with Baladev, how much the Yadu dynasty was in distress, being threatened by the attacks of two formidable enemies, Jarasandha and Kalayamana. Time was growing short. Kalayamana was already besieging Mathura, how to pronounce?
Besieging. Yeah.
Mathura from all sides, and it was expected that the day after next, Jarasandha would also come, equipped with the same number of divisions of soldiers as in his previous 17 attempts. Krishna was certain that Jarasandha would take advantage of the opportunity to capture Mathura when it was also being besieged by Kalayamana. He therefore thought it wise to take precautionary measures for defending two strategic points of Mathura. If both Krishna and Balaram were engaged in fighting with Kalayamana at one place, Jarasandha might come at another to attack the whole Yadu family and take his revenge. Jarasandha was very powerful, and having been defeated 17 times, he might vengefully kill the members of the Yadu family or arrest them and take them to his kingdom. Krishna therefore decided to construct a formidable fort where no two-legged animal, either man or demon, could enter. He decided to keep his relatives there so that he would then be free to fight the enemy. It appears that formerly Dwaraka was also part of the kingdom of Mathura, because in the Srimad Bhagavatam it is stated that Krishna constructed a fort in the midst of the sea.
Remnants of the fort Krishna constructed still exist on the Bay of Dwarka. Krishna first of all constructed a very strong wall covering 96 square miles, and the wall itself was within the sea. It was certainly wonderful and was planned and constructed by Vishvakarma. No ordinary architect could construct such a fort within the sea, but an architect like Vishvakarma, who is considered to be the engineer among the demigods, can execute such wonderful craftsmanship anywhere in the universe. If huge planets can float in weightlessness in outer space by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, surely the architectural construction of a fort covering 96 square miles within the sea was not very wonderful. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam that this new well-constructed city developed within the sea had regular planned roads, streets and lanes. There were also well-planned paths, and there were gardens filled with plants known as kalpavrikshas, or desire trees. These desire trees are not like the ordinary trees of the material world. The desire trees are found in the spiritual world. By Krishna's supreme will, everything is possible. So such desire trees were planted in Dwarka, the city constructed by Krishna. The city was also filled with many palaces and goparas, or big gates. These goparas are still found in some of the larger temples. They are very high and constructed with fine artistic skill. Such palaces and gates held golden water pots, or kalasha. These water pots on the gates or in the palaces are considered auspicious signs. Amongst all the palaces were skyscrapers. In each and every house, big pots of gold and silver and grains were stocked in underground rooms. And there were many golden water pots within the rooms. The bedrooms were all bedecked with jewels, and the floors were mosaic pavements of Marakata jewels. The Vishnu deity worshipped by the denizens of Yadu was installed in each house in the city. The residential quarters were so arranged that different castes, Brahmanas, Satyas, Vaishyas and Sudras, had their respective quarters. It appears from this that the caste system existed even at that time. In the centre of the city was a residence made specifically for King Ugrasena. This was the most dazzling of all the houses. When the demigods saw that Krishna was constructing a particular city of his own choice, they sent the celebrated Chapati flower of the heavenly planet to be planted in the new city.
And they also sent a parliamentary house to Dharma. The specific quality of this assembly house was that anyone participating in a meeting with it would overcome the influence of invalidity due to old age. The demigod Varuna also presented a horse which was all white except for black ears and which could run at the speed of the mind. Kuvera, the treasurer of the demigods, presented the art of attaining the 8 perfectional stages of material opulence. In this way, all the demigods began to present their respective gifts according to their different capacities. There are 33 million demigods, each entrusted with a particular department of universal management. All the demigods took the opportunity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's constructing a city of his own choice to present their respective gifts, making the city of Mathura unique within the universe. Thus, this proves that there are undoubtedly innumerable demigods, but none of them is independent of Krishna. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishna is the Supreme Master and all others are servants. So all the servants took the opportunity to render service to Krishna when he was personally present within this universe. This example should be followed by all, especially those who are Krishna conscious, for they should serve Krishna by their respective abilities. When the new city was fully constructed according to plan, Krishna transferred all the inhabitants of Mathura and installed Sri Balaram as the city father. After this, he consulted with Balaram, and being garlanded with lotus flowers, he came out of the city to meet Kalayavana, who had already seized Mathura without taking up any weapons. When Krishna came out of the city, Kalayavana, who had never seen Krishna before, saw him to be extraordinarily beautiful, dressed in yellow garments. Passing through his assembly of soldiers, Krishna appeared like the moon in the sky, passing through the assembled clouds. Kalayavana was fortunate enough to see the lines of Srivatsa, a particular impression on the chest of Sri Krishna, and the Kaustubha jewel he was wearing. Kalayavana saw him, however, in his Vishnu form, with a well-built body, 4 hands, and eyes like the petals of a newly blooming lotus. Krishna appeared blissful, with a handsome forehead and beautiful face, with smiling eyes, restless eyebrows, and moving earrings. Before seeing Krishna, Kalayavana had heard about him from Narada.
And now the descriptions of Narada were confirmed. Kalyavana noticed Krishna's specific marks and jewels on his chest, his beautiful garland of lotus flowers, his lotus eyes, and similar beautiful bodily features. He concluded that this beautiful personality must be Vasudeva, for every description he had previously heard from Narada was substantiated by the presence of Krishna. Kalyavana was astonished to see Krishna passing through his army without any weapon in his hands and without any chariot. He was simply walking on foot. Kalyavana had not come to fight with Krishna, and yet he had sufficient principle not to take up any kind of weapon. He decided to fight with him hand to hand. Thus he prepared to capture Krishna and fight. Krishna, however, went ahead without looking at Kalyavana. Kalyavana began to follow him with a desire to capture him. But in spite of all his swift running, he could not capture Krishna. Krishna could not be captured or cannot be captured even by the mental speed attained by great yogis. He can be captured only by devotional service, and Kalyavana was not practiced in devotional service. He wanted to capture Krishna, and since he could not do so, he followed him from behind. Kalyavana began running very fast, thinking, "Now I am nearer, I will capture him." But he could not. Krishna led him far away and entered the cave of a hill. Kalyavana thought that Krishna was trying to avoid fighting with him, and was therefore taking shelter of the cave. He rebuked him with the following words: "O Krishna, I heard that you are a great hero born in the dynasty of Yadu, but I see that you are running away from fighting like a coward." It is not worthy of your good name and family tradition. Kalyavana was running very fast, but still he could not catch Krishna because he was not freed from all contaminations of sinful life. According to Vedic culture, anyone who does not follow the regressive principles observed by the high castes, like the Brahmanas, Satyas, Vaishyas, and even the labourer class, is called a Malecha or Yavana. The Vedic social situation is so planned that persons accepted as Sudras can gradually be elevated to the position of Brahmanas by the cultural advancement known as samskara, or the purificatory process. The version of the Vedic scriptures is that no one can become a Brahmana or a Malecha simply by birth. By birth, everyone is accepted as a Sudra. One has to elevate himself.
By the purificatory process to the stage of Brahminical life. If he degrades himself further, he is then called a Mlecha or Yavana. Kala Yavana belonged to the class of Mlechas and Yavanas. Contaminated by sinful activities, he could not approach Krishna. The principles from which higher class men are restricted, namely illicit sexual indulgence, meat eating, gambling, and intoxication, are an integral part of the lives of the Mlechas and Yavanas. Being bound by such sinful activities, one cannot make any advancement in God realization. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that only one completely freed from all sinful reactions can engage in devotional service or Krishna consciousness. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 49th chapter of Krishna. Krishna erects the Dwaraka fort. And tomorrow we start beautiful chapter called Deliverance of Muchukunda, chapter 50. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Book ki jai,
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. I hope anyone was out there listening, or maybe you were reading along. But anyhow, hopefully you had a beautiful, wonderful Ekadashi. Hopefully you chanted some additional rounds of japa, more than you usually do, to build up our strength for chanting.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. We're going to proceed with a little kirtan here. Hari Hari.